Yeah, greetings to you. So myself, I'm a trainer with JPA for the MeanStack course. So let me introduce to you what MeanStack is all about and what are the topics that we cover as part of this MeanStack syllabus at JPA. So the name MeanStack, it is getting crazy nowadays. So it is so what is expansion for MeanStack? So M is for MongoDB, which is a database. E for Express and N for Node, which are all the server-side programming languages. So Node is a server-side technology, and Express is a framework for Node.js, and then A is for Angular. So Angular is a client-side framework built on top of JavaScript. So what is this client, server, and database all about? So before going to what is client, server, and database, so previously we used to the software companies, when they build a software, they used to deliver it as executables, so which the consumer will be installing in their system, and they will be running the application. So all the data will be stored either in their system or within their network. So this was the system before. So slowly, with the evolution of cloud, people were actually willing to store their data outside their network. So when we take cloud, so the server is running somewhere. A cloud system is nothing but a remote computer, so a remote system. So that server is running somewhere, and we need to access the application. So one way to access the application is to have a client for the application. So the client is essentially what we see on the browser window. The server is where the core logic is being written and which has connection to the database. So database is a place where our records are getting stored. So when we say client, server, and database, so we have on the client side, whatever we see on our screen is what we call it as a client. Essentially it is a browser. So the client side technologies are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then we have server. So server is connected to the database. So whatever the authentication, the authorization, and everything happens in the server, and database is the place where the data is being stored. So previously PHP, Java were all famous server-side programming languages. Perl, these were the famous server-side programming languages, but now it is being slowly replaced by Python and Node.js. And then the database, in the database, so previously it was like they were using relational databases like MySQL and then Oracle and so on. Now people have started moving towards non-relational database. So MongoDB is one such database. So when we take the MeanStack course, it essentially covers all the three layers of the application. So it talks about the client, the server, and the database. So when we take the client, so what are all the things that the browser can understand? It's essentially HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So when we take JavaScript, so when we write plain, when we want to write plain JavaScript, it is no more like beneficial to a company which wants to make revenue. So we essentially end up using a framework. A framework is nothing but it has set of functionalities already being written, which helps us to build the applications faster and in a secure way. So framework will take care of all the security related items. Framework will take care of the essential functionalities, and we can build an app in lesser time than we do with a normal plain JavaScript. So Angular is one such framework that is actually gaining mileage day to day. And then we have on the server we have Node.js. So Node.js is a server side technology. So previously we used to have client in JS and some other technology on the server like Java or PHP or Python, which is completely different from JavaScript. So we need to learn two technologies in order to become a full stack developer. So with the increased potential of JavaScript, people thought, why can't we use JavaScript for the server side as well? And they came up with the idea of Node.js. So Node.js is a server-side technology. On top of it, we have a framework called Express, so which will help us to build web applications faster. So Express is a Node.js framework used mainly for web applications. And then we have MongoDB. So the advantage of combining Angular, Node and MongoDB is everything can understand a format called JSON. So there is no need to convert from client to server and server to database. Similarly, when we come back as well, from database to server and server to client. So we need not do the type conversion. If we are going to use different technologies on different ends, then obviously we have to do the type conversion as well. So that is one advantage with MeanStack. So as you can see here, we have the client and then we have the Angular. So on the client side, Angular is being displayed. The Angular will send a request to Node that gets to Express. From Express, MongoDB is being connected and we make query to the MongoDB, and then in turn we get the data. The data is being sent back by Node.js to the Angular client. The Angular will display the final result to the user. Okay, so this is what the whole MeanStack is all about. So A is for Angular, N is for Node, E for Express and M for MongoDB. So what is the advantage of using MeanStack? Why people have started moving towards MeanStack more? It is because same language. So everywhere JavaScript is being used and then same objects. So we use a format called JSON. So everywhere the client can understand JSON, the server can understand JSON and the MongoDB as well can understand JSON. This is why we have started moving towards more of MeanStack related technologies. So when we take MeanStack, the first thing is everything is open source. So MongoDB is open source, Node.js is open source, similarly Angular is open source. So we need not pay anything about that. Anything for that. And then isomorphic coding, everywhere we see the same type of coding. So when we take Java and JavaScript, the coding standards are different, the syntax is different, but here we are using JavaScript on both the ends. So it is isomorphic coding, easy to learn. So if we know plain JavaScript well, then we can definitely learn Node.js faster. Similarly with Angular, so if we know JavaScript well, it is like an extra effort from where we can learn AngularJS. And then it is a single language, usability and speed. It is a NoSQL database. So the disadvantage with NoSQL database is you should follow a certain structure. So for every record in the table that we create. But the advantage of NoSQL database is it is schemaless. So each record can be of different format. And then it provides better performance, cloud compatible. The main advantage is cloud compatible. So everything can be hosted on the cloud. Cost effective, quality UI. We will be able to build a quality and robust UI with Angular. And then it follows a flexible structure. And then we have a massive library support for anything in Node.js. If you want to do a file export, I want to send a mail, I want to push it to some G drive, I want to push it to O365 calendar. For everything there, I want to convert JSON to CSV format. So for everything there is already a library being written, and it is a very vibrant community. So for anything we need not write recode everything again. For all the utility functions, for all our general purpose functions, there are already third-party libraries available, which we should just know how to use them. Okay, so this is all about MeanStack and how it got famous. And let us move to the syllabus that we cover at JPA. So this is the syllabus. So the first thing we start, so this course basically starts with the basics of HTML. So the first thing we start with is introduction to HTML. So what is HTML? How the browser understands HTML, how to convert a raw document into HTML and so on. And then HTML5. HTML5 is the version of HTML in which they added support for audio, video, and new form elements, and then canvas, and then SVG, and then they have something called as HTML5 web APIs like web storage, web workers, and so many other things. So after that we will be seeing about CSS and CSS3. CSS is cascading style sheet. So basically HTML will say what to present and CSS will say how to present that data onto the user. So when we take CSS, we will be seeing about the basic CSS, how to write properties, how to select elements and everything. Apart from that, we will be seeing about CSS3. In CSS3, we will be seeing about background, text effect, fonts and so on. And then we will be seeing something called as media queries. So media queries is where, so we can't be writing the same code for different screen sizes. For example, I see the same application in my mobile, I see the same application in my tablet, I see it in iPad, I see it in iPhone, I see it in a Mac or some other laptop for that matter. So for everything we can't rewrite the same code again and again. So our code should work on all devices. So that is basically called as this RWD, responsive web designing. So how can we make use of media queries, which was introduced in CSS3 to address these issues? And then we will be seeing about Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a framework for CSS. Okay, so Bootstrap is given to us by Twitter. So how to use the various Bootstrap components. Again the main advantage of Bootstrap is it is responsive. So according to the device it will change its properties. So the same button which displays in the web UI, it will not break when you view it in your mobile. So we will see the major Bootstrap components and how to use these Bootstrap components in our application. And then we will be starting with JavaScript ES5. So JavaScript is actually it is the client side programming language, rather it is a scripting language. So we will be seeing how to start with JavaScript from the basic introduction. So how we will create a normal function, how to call that function, how to link the JavaScript to our HTML page and so on. So we'll be seeing all these topics under ES5. So ES5 is one version of JavaScript, and then we will be seeing about ES6 and ES7. So ES7 is the latest version of JavaScript. So we will be seeing what are all the additional features in ES6 and ES7. And after that we will be seeing about TypeScript. So TypeScript is nothing but an extension of JavaScript. It is the typed version of JavaScript. So we will be seeing about TypeScript. Basically why to see about TypeScript, it is because Angular is being written in TypeScript. We will be seeing Angular 7, the latest version of Angular. So we will be seeing all the important topics that comes under Angular 7. So from writing how to create a sample app, and then how to add directives, routing, how to create dynamic components, how to write services, routing and everything. We will be seeing HTTP, sending HTTP request and getting response. Everything we will be seeing as part of Angular. So these are all the up to this is what the server client side technologies is all about. So HTML5, CSS3, and then we'll be seeing about Bootstrap, JS ES5, JS ES6, TypeScript, and then Angular. So these are all the client side technologies we will be seeing as part of this course. And when we take server side, Node.js is a server side technology. So we will be seeing the architecture of Node.js technology, how it is different from the normal web server model. And then we will be seeing about Express, which is a framework on top of Node.js. So it is a web-based framework on top of Node.js. And then we will be seeing about MongoDB. So MongoDB is the database, how to connect Express and MongoDB, how to query MongoDB, and then how to insert data, delete data. We call it as CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. So how to do all these 4 operations from Express. So we will be seeing that, and towards the end we will be seeing the end-to-end flow from the client, from the Angular, how do you send a request to the server? On the server, how do you receive the request? How to take the parameters from that? How to connect to the database and fetch the data from the database and send it back to the client. And again the client will display it to the user. So this is the end-to-end usage of the application. Towards the end, we will be seeing some points about GitHub. So what is GitHub, what is version control, how to push our code to version control, and so on. So whenever we build an application, it is essential that we push it to GitHub and put that link in our resume so that the interviewer might know how whether you have really built an application or not. So we will be seeing the basics of GitHub as well.